Alright, we are back. This time we are at Tiddenfoot Pit, which is a small lake in Leighton Buzzard, Linslade. It's beautiful, it's a little nature reserve. I think it used to be some sort of quarry, but don't quote me on that, you can Google it. But now it is home to fishermen and wildlife and yeah, walking and running and lots of different activities. It's really beautiful. Tiddenfoot Pit. Alright, so I thought what I'll do today is come out with the little stove, because that was very popular yesterday. I'm going to do a setup video, I'm going to do a lighting video, and then I'm also going to let it burn for about 30 minutes. I'm going to time it. So I've already weighed it, and then I'm going to burn it for 30 minutes, and I'm going to re-weigh it again once I get home, and then I can see how efficient it is. I'm intrigued to know if it's a worthy candidate for like a long couple of day trek. How much fuel does it use? How economical with fuel is it? Okay, so I've already pre-weighed it. I'll stick those numbers at the top here somewhere, and then once I get home I will add those numbers to the video as well. So yeah, let's get that put together and see what it gives us. So here it is again. This is the Primus, it's called the Pocket Stove. So in the little box here, this is the box that came with it. Got a little Primus logo on there. So in the box you get the actual stove itself, which is a really beautiful brass thing. It's got 3 little legs, like so. It's got a pump, so you can add pressure to the canister, the fuel itself. There's a little valve here that you open and close to release the valve, to release the pressure. And then there's a top screw which we will remove, and that has its own little house, and it sits just here for storage, so you don't lose it. Once you remove the screw, you get this little top part, and it's got a tiny hole in the top where the fuel, once it's heated up, it starts to vaporize, and the fuel will come out of there. This little tray here, this little round tray here, you actually put methylated spirits in there. You heat the methylated spirits up, and that in turn will heat up the paraffin, which will start the vaporization. And obviously once it's nice and hot, it's self-heating, if you like, you know, just continue to vaporize. Then you get this little top piece which sits on top, and then there's a plate that goes on top of that, and the fuel hits that plate and then spreads out. You also get 3 little pot stands, and they sit lovely just inside little holders. And then finally, for the stove itself, you get a little wind guard. Now you only really need this for when you're doing the preheat, but obviously once it's in place, everything gets hot, and just leave it in place. And then we get a Primus branded spanner for assembly as well. Okay, so here goes the assembly. First thing we need to do is remove that little top screw. You take that out and screw it into its little holder, so lose that. Okay, then we're going to add the actual jet itself, where the fuel comes out. Give that a little tighten up, nice and tight. Okay, so once we put the jet on, we're then going to place the little shield, windshield if you like, and then on goes the little plate on top of that, like so. Then we have our pot holders. There's 3 of those, 1, 2, 3, and then we want to have our little wind stand ready to put on. Okay, so we want to start the boil with the valve open, so I've opened that up, and then we're going to add methylated spirits into the little cylinder around the bottom, and the little tray there. I'm not sure what it's called. I'm sure all these parts have got really exotic names. and then we're going to light that. Let's put a little wind protector on there. Now there isn't a lot of wind around here, thankfully. I'm going to let that let that heat up for a bit, and I'm just going to give it a couple of pushes just to get a little bit of pressure inside the fuel holder. There we go. And there we have it. I'm just going to keep pumping for a bit. Now I'm going to start a timer. I'm going to let that burn for 30 minutes. Okay, so it's not exactly a science, but I'm just intrigued to know just how economical it can be. So I know how much fuel is in there when we started, and I want to see how much fuel there is once we've let it burn for a while. So I'm just going to let this run continuously now for 30 minutes. I'm going to pour some water on it and just enjoy the area where I am. Cool, I'll come back to you in a bit. Alright, so after 27 minutes it has extinguished itself. You can still hear the hissing of air, but there's no flame, which tells me that the fuel itself is no longer vaporizing. There is still some fuel left in the bottom of the canister, but perhaps not quite enough to operate the stove. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let it cool down for a bit, and then I'll take it home and reweigh it, and I'll stick some numbers up here as well to give you an idea of how efficient it is. So this is the Primus Paraffin stove. This unit is well over 70 years old. I inherited this from Uncle Ron. So this is Uncle Ron's stove, and it still works really well today. 27 minutes of burn time, I think that's really, really good. Again, I'll find out how efficient that is based on weight, and then I can get an idea of how much fuel I'd need to carry if I was going to take it on an adventure. So thanks again for joining me on this video. If you like this content, give me a little thumbs up, maybe even a subscribe would be great too, and throw some comments in the bottom if you want to see anything else with this stove or you want any more information. Thanks again, and have a wicked day.